So, as I mentioned at the start of the day, I thought, what better way to celebrate Sangha Day, than by talking about, well, something that we do when we celebrate people. We celebrate by, very often by giving. We give gifts. So today we'll be evoking and exploring this quality of giving, of generosity, of dana. Often we can think of giving as we give and as a result we've got less. But hopefully the more we practice, and will become clear as my talk goes on, actually the more we give, the more we're stepping into a much richer world, a world of more abundance. And I think I just wanted to say a little bit about this sort of approach to spiritual life in a way. We can, it's easy to sort of think in terms of, we need to look at things clearer, and of course, ultimately we're looking to gain insight. We need to work on all these parts of ourselves, but I think very often we neglect this this whole sort of opportunity of abundance that we have, that comes with the practice of generosity. I think particularly for those, I can't say those of you, it's certainly those of us, I count myself very much in this category, those of us that like to have a penchant for hanging on to their own suffering, and I know sadly I'm not alone in this, very often to have an approach of cultivating abundance and the practice of generosity is a real antidote, it's a real balm, a relief from the more sort of difficult parts of ourselves that we would just rather aren't there. So, and often I find that you don't need to get rid of one to do another, so you can be in a sort of not very good state, you can be sort of struggling with yourself, but you can still decide, actually I'm going to give, and the significance of that act, I'm going to say more as the talk goes on. It's like the heart. I think the heart is always, in a way, I think the heart is always ready to give. It may not feel like that, and certainly the mind, will tell us otherwise. We can be very caught up, but the heart is the heart. The heart is responsive. The heart wants to connect. It wants to give. So, it's it's kind of there waiting for us to sort of align ourselves with it, to activate that. So I'm going to talk this morning about giving to different beings, you could say, different categories of beings, and I thought, well, charity starts at home, doesn't it? I thought it would be good to start talking about giving to oneself. Sometimes, I haven't heard this for a while actually, but sometimes you hear in the Sangha, it's like, I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm going to, sit and watch Netflix all night and, have a binge TV and chocolate time. It's not really what I mean. It's not really what being kind to yourself means. It might do, in certain circumstances, depending on what you're watching, of course, it might look like that. But really giving to ourselves means, well, first of all, it means being aware of our actual needs, and then being prepared to meet that need. So the need may be for space, or it may be the next big project. It may be that you're just sort of, floundering a bit and you haven't got something to put your energies into. Maybe a project. Maybe all sorts of things, but we need to be aware of our needs. And I think, at the risk of sounding like a parent, it's so. I think it's so easy to sometimes we just neglect our basic needs. I mean, even just something as simple as food. It's like, what are you doing to make it make sure that it's really nourishing you, and to make sure that you're not expending lots more effort than you need to. I don't think my wife will mind me saying that we often have this sort of repeated conversation like, oh, wouldn't it be a good idea to make a big pot of something for the whole week, so we don't need to think every evening what to make. It's like things like that, get them in place so that we can give to ourselves in a way that we don't have to keep thinking about it. It enables us to give more. And obviously, when I mention our needs, I'm also including our needs for growth, our needs for practice, for connection. So making sure that we give ourselves opportunity, we carve out time in our lives, in our diary, that we know that time is going to serve us. Have we got our next retreat booked in is an obvious one. Making sure that we have the forethought to do that. I think another way that you can think about giving to ourselves is something that I've been exploring recently. It's like we can give to parts of ourselves that we're maybe not on best terms with, you could say. So, you know, the struggling parts, the rebellious parts, the parts that would rather just, you know, stay in bed all day. In a way, I think it can be quite interesting to explore an attitude of generosity towards those parts. So we connect with a sense of abundance, of richness with our qualities. Maybe we enlist the help of a Buddha, perhaps, or Bodhisattva, and we can imagine giving to these parts that, yeah, just so that they have everything. They can, you know, their little story that they've got, their little identification that can seem so powerful, that can just melt away. You know, you can give them everything that they possibly need, and they can kind of relax a bit and take their place. Also, yeah, an important part of that, I think, is actually witnessing it being received. So the difficult part, actually taking in, yeah, goodwill, whatever is needed. So I'm going to move on to giving to each other, by which I mean us lot and beyond, the Sangha. I was thinking that often it's like in our day-to-day life, I think often we are a bit lost, or at least there are moments in the day, probably quite a few moments, where we're in self, yeah, we're in story, where we're not particularly, we don't particularly know where we're going, we don't have a focus, yeah, sort of drifting in self, lost in self, you could say. It strikes me that to give, immediately as we start to conceive of giving, we find ourselves, we place ourselves, as it were, in relationship before we give. Of course, we're in relationship all the time, aren't we? But it's so easy to forget. So before we give, we're already doing something skillful. We're sort of lining ourselves up. We're acknowledging our connection. And then we give something. And in that giving, we're expressing ourselves, aren't we? We're expressing something to the person or people. We're allowing our heart to do its work, you could say. But of course, as we give, we're also we're adding, we're kind of cultivating the relationship. Hopefully the person or people appreciate to some extent what we're giving, and that makes a difference to them. So it makes a difference to us. We're kind of strengthening our end of things, and it makes a difference to them. So in the act of giving, there you go, we're kind of we're strengthening the relationship. And of course, as has been touched upon already, a very important way in which we do this, significant way, is through friendship. So we give within friendship, we give friendship, and what it's like lifeblood of the Sangha. I think it's easy to talk about friendship, and it's easy to kind of underestimate its significance. I was thinking last night, just think about the significance of somebody having one good friend and the difference potentially that could make in their life. All the things that they could be subjected to, could go through. To have one good friend it can make all the difference. Obviously, in the Sangha also, we give to each other collectively. We give to individuals, but we give to each other collectively. So just by coming today, you are giving to us all. Thank you on behalf of everyone. Thank you very much. You've turned up. You are giving to all of us, and we can take that. We can take that further. Of course, we can support a class. We can volunteer. Putting energy in to the collective, to the Sangha. We can also, and this is quite a new thing for me. We can give in our imagination. So I was on a retreat just a few weeks ago with Vasantra. He was talking a lot about giving. That was the theme, and talking about the importance of giving in our imagination. It's easy to sort of poo-poo the imagination. No, it's just pretend. But really, how different is it to the world that we're living in? Actually, I think that's worthy of consideration. But when we give in our imagination, there's no limits. So we might feel somewhat reluctant to give away all of our possessions to the Sangha or the local charity shop, but in our imagination, there's no holds barred. We can do that in our imagination, and that has value. We can give everything that we own, everything that we don't own. We can imagine giving. So many beautiful things. The sky literally is the limit. And in this way, we actually have the experience of giving and of enjoying giving. So this I think also is really important. When we give to someone and they receive it, there's a natural sort of heart response, I think, often that comes with that. It's enjoyable to give. So how much more enjoyable to give everything. And I think, I'll talk more about this part of Sangha in the next part. So I'll go on now to giving to the world. So traditionally, there are the 6 categories of things that we give. So we can give material things. We give fearlessness, education, life and limb, merits, and what's known as the greatest gift, we can give the Dharma. I thought I would play a little clip of Bhante, it's just a minute, talking about giving material things. So this is from a lecture that he gave. I haven't got the reference, but I can share it later. So this is Bhante on the giving of material things.
In some Buddhist countries, the lay people especially make it a practice of giving something every day. just to get into the habit of it, as it were. After all, you're taking something every day. If it's only air, if it's only food, why not give something every day? So some Buddhist families need to always look out for a beggar or a monk to whom they can give food, or a poor person to whom they can give a piece of cloth, or something of that kind, so that every day they are giving all the time. It may not be very much. It may just be a few coins, a few coppers, as it were, or just a few spoonfuls of rice, but at least they're training themselves in this way, and they're getting into the habit of giving. So that generosity becomes an ingrained part of their lives, part of the very fabric, part of the very texture of their normal everyday existence. Not something you do once or twice a year at Christmas time or a birthday, but something that you're doing all the time, so that there's this constant outflow to counterbalance, if you like, the constant process of taking in that we do only so easily and so readily. So this is the sort of thing which we find happening in the Buddhist countries of the East. There is constant giving, at least of something material, if you can't go any further than that.
So that's Bhante. Very full encouragement for us to give. Giving what we can. So yeah, in this regard, actually, after hearing an order member talk about his practice of this, I took up the practice of when I was commuting, this is before the lockdown, getting on the tube, going to work every day, always making sure I had some change in my pocket, because I knew it was extremely likely that I would see homeless people on my way to and from work. And I know there's you can have sort of a discussion about what people might do with the money, which I think is valid, but also it's a very good practice just to really work on the giving of material things in this very simple way. And I found it really interesting, actually, that I would always remember to have the money there, but sometimes I must confess, I was walking along, I was caught up, I saw someone, and in that moment I didn't want to, and it's like, in a way, there's no reason for me not to. I'm sort of prepared to, but in that moment I didn't want to. And through this practice, it really showed me that, well, when I did give, like the richness of that, and it showed me my edge and how I could be more prepared to give. And it was a rich exploration. Not to blow my own trumpet, but just to share the experience of this. There's one day I was actually feeling a bit flushed. I don't know if it was payday, but anyway, I passed someone, and I'm not sure I did have change, but I just gave them £10, and I walked off, and my heart, it's almost like it jumped out my chest, and it wasn't like, oh, aren't I good? I think it's just, what I was talking about at the beginning. It's just the heart wants to contribute where it can, and then when you do that, it opens. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about all the ways we can give, just focusing on material things, and also giving the Dharma. Obviously, here at the centre, it's one of the main ways in which we can give, either teaching ourselves or supporting. But also, I think more broadly than that, we can think in terms of just giving, not even giving, just like talking sense. There's so much madness in the world, isn't there? And both sort of, in the collective and within all of us, individually, someone comes to us, really struggling with something. Just talking sense, sense that's kind of based in the way things are, is a real gift. So we don't need to think in terms of, oh, I can't teach, or I'm not sure I want to teach. It's like we can give common sense. We're not alone, are we? We're here all together. We're part of a Sangha. celebrating Sangha Day, and I think it's through the Sangha that we can most give to the world. There's the image that many of you will be familiar with of the thousand-armed Avalokiteshvara as a symbol of the order, and in a way you can take it as a symbol of the whole Sangha. Each one of us playing a part in something much greater that is of infinite worth and value to the world. Often I find myself, I think like all of us, we can get caught up in our petty concerns, can't we? And fears, etc., etc. What a relief to remember that we're part of something far greater. We're part of this Sangha and part of a whole stream, you could say, of sort of positive consciousness that is reaching out to the world, and we can see ourselves as serving that. You can think in terms of serving bodhicitta. In a way, I think that's, as a Sangha, what we've most got to give to the world. I mean, just talking sort of more practically, people discover, they might discover a teaching and they're trying to put something into practice, but without, we had two words earlier that are quite pertinent. We had context and container as important elements of Sangha. Without a context, without a container, I think it's quite limited how much you can sort of free yourself from your own tangle of suffering and wrong views. We need to be in the greenhouse at least a good chunk of the time, so that we can get used to knowing what sort of plants we are and growing alongside other plants. And we need a place to grow. So that's what the Sangha offers the world, a place to grow. Also, as part of our practice, we can give to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Probably most of you have taken part in a puja, where it's common to make offerings. So we give typically incense, we can give candles, but it doesn't need to stop there. So either in material things, something we might create that we give to the Buddha, or again drawing on our imaginations. So again, we can imagine anything, can't we? So where we live, we're fortunate enough to live next to two reservoirs. One is a nature reserve, two lovely bodies of water. What I've been doing recently is just offering them up to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So we can experience beauty, and we're affected by that beauty, and then we can offer that. In a way, it's I think it's an exploration for all of us, but it can be easy to see making offerings as though it's what you do, and sometimes that it can just feel like that. But we've all connected. We've all made a significant heart connection. So somewhere in us there is that appreciation of what we've received and what we know is there for us to draw on. And of course, why wouldn't we give? We want to give. All we can give is a mountain or a lake, but let's give what we can to express our appreciation. And like I was saying earlier, when before we give, we sort of align ourselves in the relationship. How significant when we do that with a Buddha, with a Bodhisattva, we remember our relationship with them, a significant step already. And then as we give, we strengthen that relationship from our end at least. I'm not sure it means anything to say we can strengthen, the Buddha's not going to give us more love because we've given him a mountain. The Buddha has great love and compassion for us, but we can give and express our appreciation. Yeah, there's other things that we can offer up to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as well. So again, Vasantra was talking about offering simple pleasures. So classic one is a cup of tea. You know, you're looking forward to your cup of tea. You're expecting to receive some pleasure for it. You can offer that. You know, may the Buddhas experience the pleasure of that. But you can also extend this to, shall we say, other more, perhaps, less ethically neutral pleasures, shall we say. So pleasures that we maybe enjoy too much in a way that is not good for us. Also, I think it can be a very healthy way of working, with the addictive tendencies that we all have, to share the pleasure, offer up the pleasure, we're then bringing this tendency into relationship to what's most important to us. And I think there can be a relief in that, even though we still may feel that kind of tight sort of addictive pull, maybe we can lessen it a little by offering up the pleasures. There's other things we can offer up to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, maybe things that are not obviously pleasurable. We can think in terms of handing them over. So the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are very happy to hand over our difficult experiences, for us to hand them over to them. So maybe a difficult situation at work, something in our lives that just feels impossible. Hand it over. Just give it over to the Buddha. He can take care of it. And similarly with difficult sensations, different experiences that we may have, we can give them, hand them over. I was going to read from the Bodhicharyavatara, just going back to giving, using our imagination to give, and imagination not as something that's not real, but making use of the faculty to give these things. So I wanted to read a brief section from the Bodhicharyavatara, which is the text that our Sevenfold Puja is taken from. That I may fully grasp that jewel, the mind, I worship here the Tathagatas, and the flawless jewel, the true Dharma, and the sons of the Buddhas, who are oceans of virtue. As many blossoms and fruits and medicinal herbs as there are, as many jewels as there are in the world, and clear, refreshing waters, along with jewel-formed mountains and other places delightful in solitude, the forest groves, creepers brilliant with beautiful flowers, their ornaments, and trees, boughs bowed low under the weight of full fruit, and from the worlds of gods and celestials, scent and incense, magical trees that fulfill every wish, and trees laden with gems, lakes adorned with lotuses, where the calls of the geese steal the heart beyond bounds, plants which grow wild and those which are sown, and whatever else might adorn the honourable, and all those things unowned within the boundaries of the breadth of space. See, in my mind I take hold of all these, and present them to the bulls amongst sages and their sons. With great compassion, tender toward me, may those most worthy of gifts accept these from me. So we give all these things to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but of course that is not the end, because they have so much to give us. So, yeah, moving on to the next part of the talk is we take time to receive the blessings, the adhisthana, to receive everything that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have to give us. I think it's easy to get lost. You might be thinking, oh, yeah, I don't really connect with all of that. This is not for me, these rarefied heights. But just take a moment, actually, to recollect yourself in just an aware, kind state. Yeah, whether you're on the phone to someone or you're walking down the street, you're just, you feel at home in yourself. You're aware and kind state. And either the person that's talking to you or the person you come across is in this state of unnecessary suffering. You can see what they're doing, that they're busy creating this suffering for themselves and maybe other people. I think it's quite easy to imagine that in that state you would just, gosh, you would love it if they could just stop doing that. You don't need to do that. And if you had anything to help, you would just like, here you go, you don't need to do that. So we can extrapolate from that. We can extrapolate to imagining how the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas see us. They see us causing such unnecessary suffering and caught in our delusion. And it's like they extend, they have so much to give us, they extend their loves. Like you don't need to do that. So in a way that's coming down from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas all the time. We just need to remember that, turn towards that, whether that's in meditation or it's just bringing that to mind during our day. I've been experimenting with this myself with one of my difficult parts. I won't bore you with all the terrible details, but there's a part that is in need. So to remember that, in my case, Avalokiteshvara is kind of giving to that part all the time, and just to be able to receive some of this love and blessing is a huge relief. I think, this is what I was trying to communicate a bit at the beginning. We don't need to we don't need to sort of get rid of all the worst parts of ourselves, fix everything before we can enter this world of richness. I think, the mind is so sort of multifaceted, isn't it? The mind-heart has got so many sort of different aspects to it, different qualities, different habits and behaviors. I think it's quite a common problem, or rather it's quite a common issue, that we all too often we identify with the lowest common denominator, and that's sort of we see ourselves as, that's sort of a key current in our story, how we view ourselves. But we don't need to be as kind of determined by that as we often are, I think. As I was saying at the beginning, the heart is always there wanting to respond. Yes, there's this part that wants to, tell you for the 100th million time, the fact that you didn't do that means you're a bad person, or whatever it is, doesn't mean that you can't just turn towards a source of abundance, and that the heart might not just be there ready to respond. We've got all these qualities, haven't we? We want to express them, and I think often they're closer than we think. I need to start wrapping up, but just I thought I would share something that I've been doing on my commute, which is now by bike, come rain or shine, going down to London Bridge. So I've been seeing, yeah, you could say, Avalokiteshvara in the sky above me as I'm cycling. Obviously, don't try this at home if there's lots of traffic. Keep your wits about you. But I found it really rich to keep that connection as I do my commute, but also the people around me, the people that are in my field of vision. I've just had this sense of, it's not there all the time, but it's really kind of grown, of seeing members of the public in a very different way. So I think when we're out and about, it's easy, isn't it, just to not see people as people. They're sort of these objects that may sort of impinge on us, and we need to defend against them. But I've just been seeing these beings as beings in need, of one state or other. And I've had this sense, if this makes sense, of like a pyramid, a sort of reverse pyramid, where you've got the big bit at the top, which is the biggest need. It's the greatest, most immediate need, of which we all have one. And then the needs get sort of progressively more subtle. You could say right up until, or down until, the need for, full and perfect enlightenment. That is what we're all capable of. So everyone who is not in that state has, this kind of funnel of unmet needs. So you can just imagine those needs being met. Either you're giving to them in imagination, maybe stopping them, as it were, in the street in your mind, and you can have a conversation. You can give them everything that they would possibly need. And we start to see that we're not, these fixed, different people that need to sort of, rub up against each other and, keep each other at bay. But we're all in this together. And we can share the love. We can give more and more to each other, and live in a much richer world. So I've been, just to sum up briefly, I've been talking about giving to ourselves, giving to each other, giving to the world, giving to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and making sure we make time to receive what the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are constantly giving us. So I think the more we do this, the more we establish ourselves in these behaviors. It's a bit like what Bhante was saying in that short clip. It becomes, they sort of become habitual in a positive sense, and they become the shape of our lives. They become what we do. And what we find as we do that is that we live in a bigger world. Yeah, so we live in two ways, I think. We live in a bigger relational field. So as we give to all these relationships and contexts, there's more space. It's a bigger relational world that we're in. But also, the more we are in touch with the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the more perspective we have. Everything is bigger. There's space for everything. And consequently, we will become happier, and ultimately, the things that keep us stuck, this seemingly perennial habit of self that we have. We know we're so convinced of this me and all this fixity that they will, they will each gradually weaken. Will be more identified with all this space, with these relationships, and this, this tiny insistent me will become fainter and fainter. And as we do that, we will increasingly discover the riches that we have awaiting us in our own mind.